I travelled around for 21 days, made a billion videos, done some insane things, but the real challenge was getting like $5 out my bank account.
Wow.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Abroad in Japan podcast. Probably the best way of learning about life in Japan without actually being in Japan. I'm your host Chris Broad. We're joined as always by England's top Japan enthusiast, Mr. Pete Donaldson. Pete, I don't like you anymore. How you doing?
Whoa. Where's that come from? I take a couple of weeks off and you're on a journey across Japan. Have you rediscovered yourself? You've certainly rediscovered some beautiful hair. Your hair is getting... You look a little bit like that Argentinian leader with the big sideys.
That's what I'm going for. No, I hate you because moments before we hit record, Pete was like, oh, you sound like you're recording... The audio quality sounds better than normal. And we're not, of course, as you can tell, recording in the $1 billion Abroad in Japan studio. I'm in like a shed in a hotel room area in North Japan, Yamagata. And so this is what I needed. Not a big, amazing studio. I just need like a crappy room to record in.
Have you kind of made yourself a little sort of voiceover booth with blankets and stuff?
No, there's nothing. It's just this.
There's nothing.
It's me, this crappy window. Help!
I thought it might be a window. Is it one of those windows that is it one of those hotels that like backs onto like a weird wall that you don't get any sunlight out of?
It's just a very depressing window. It's shatterproof though, and that's what we need. When I get angry filming for 21 days straight, and I throw my camera at the wall. Exactly. All will be well. But
Chris,
have you been, Pete?
How the hell are you? No, we don't want to hear about me. We don't want to hear about what I'm up to. How the heck are you, Chris? Because we've had a slightly sort of staggered release schedule on the audio side and the video side. I guess.
Yeah, that's what we're calling it.
Staggered is the word. Yeah. you know, like when you don't turn up for work like for 3 weeks, and you turn up on the last day and you go, I know I am in the middle of my 3-month trial period, but I've had a staggered release, so this trial period might take 9 months. We have not done that many shows over the journey across Japan because it's been bloody impossible. Chris, you've been in snowdrifts, you've been hanging out with all of your friends. It's been an incredible Technicolor undertaking on the YouTube, and I imagine you are very much looking forward to your KFC Christmas dinner.
I just feel staggered. I feel
staggered.
No, I feel good. I'm pretty good. I'm actually the reason I'm a bit dishevelled and worn down today. I had some banking stuff to do while travelling around. And banking in Japan, you need like 4 different documents to do the most mundane of tasks. And of course, I forgot a document, and all hell broke loose. And a team of like 6 staff congregated to discuss my fate. And I was just like, oh, I hate this. I travelled around for 21 days, made a billion videos, done some insane things, but the real challenge was getting like $5 out my bank account. Fucking Japanese banking. Why is it so bad? Why can't they learn here? Banking. Anyway, banking aside, it's been good, Pete. Yeah, no, it's been good, man. I journey across Japan. I think it's exceeded expectations. I don't really know what people were expecting. I know people were expecting daily uploads, and in that regard, it hasn't exceeded that bit. But as you said,
it was never going to, Chris. You said it was never going to, simply because there's just too much stuff. There's too much. You know what? These days, the amount of 4K footage you're kicking around. Different camera angles, audio as well. I'm sorry, Chris. Like that's half a day's copy onto a hard drive for me on my old.
Why didn't you tell me? Why wasn't I warned? Why did nobody tell me, Pete? Why did nobody tell me?
Well, I've noticed that one of your editors, Davey Davidson, he's been spending a lot of his time during the Journey Across Japan edit eating Tamago Family Mart sandwiches, and he's just daily. He's just this day. His keyboard's covered in egg. He's just today finished his last Tamago egg sandwich. I presume he's sort of leaving for the airport fairly soon. But he's drawn a line on his Tamago egg mayonnaise sandwich experience. So that's very much his takeaways. I think I don't want to speak for him because he's not here to defend himself, but that's very much been his takeaways. He just loves the egg sandwiches.
They are quite good. I don't think I had a single egg sandwich on the entire trip. Actually,
what?
Don't know what I've been eating this whole time. It certainly hasn't been healthy food, that's for sure.
Have you been eating anything not on camera? Because a lot of like your adventures have been spicy ramen, nice meat, slightly less good food, loads of snow popping in your mouth here and there.
And and the next 2 episodes are about food, or they've got like food as the topic. Anyway, like I'm worried people are going to think Journey Across Japan is just Chris's gluttonous adventure, me eating food. But really, like the main reason, like the food is the title and thumbnail, is because like YouTube pushes that, right? And for example, the haunted one that came out, YouTube's like, I don't know who's going to want to watch this one. So
I ate a ghost. You should have said I've eaten a spooky spaghetti ghost.
Biggest ghost. Why not? But with food, like it just YouTube's like, oh, everyone likes food. Yeah, we'll share that with everyone. And so food ones do really well. So like, I think the next one or the one after, there's like it's about some curry ramen that's quite nice. But that's not really what the video is about. It's just like the lead in, you know.
I see.
Yeah, it's been good. I'm. It's one of those things. Like depending on what mood you wake up in, it's like this is the greatest thing I've ever done. And then some mornings you're like, I hate this and everything about it. But for the most part, 9 times out of 10, no regrets. Loved every minute of it. Just spending time with the most amazing team. Just revisiting places from old videos that I wanted to see again. You know, I went to the Tomb of Jesus Christ with Connor. And I discovered some new things about it that I didn't know from my last visit, which was, 6 or 7 years ago, right? I discovered that the Tomb of Christ is run by a yogurt factory. It's maintained by a local yogurt factory. I didn't know that, and that's really important knowledge.
Some blessed ambrosia. What kind of yogurt? Is it kind of like I don't ever recall eating any Japanese yogurt. Are they big? Are they a big yogurt country?
Yeah, it's a tough one, really. People don't do dairy, do they, here? So, I don't know. But they do have Yakult. If that's classed as a yogurt, I guess that's not a yogurt.
Yeah, I mean, most of their drinks will have a Yakult flavour. I mean, my favourite ice cream's always got like a... what's that stuff? Yogurito is a pretty big alcoholic kind of schnapps, I suppose you'd call it. And I mean, do they kind of continue the yogurt theme with the... the stigmata, the yogurt bleeding from Jesus' hands and feet.
Well, thinking about it, there's the Tomb of Christ. There's a big placard, and it's got very good English generally, talking about like Jesus, what happened. Like the English is like a native speaker wrote it. It's the one time they've actually proofread the bloody English, right?
You got to do it right for Jesus.
You do. You got to do it right. Although my favourite line is Jesus Christ travels for like... in the book, it's like, Jesus travelled for 6 years to Japan and endured the ups and downs of travel. I saw the ups and downs of travel in one sentence.
The pre-Shinkansen era of Jesus' travel through Japan.
6 years encapsulated in... Three or 4 words. But in that amazing English passage about Jesus Christ and why he came to Japan, there was no mention of the yogurt factory. And I think that was a missed opportunity by the yogurt factory to push some of their yogurt-based products. Like when Jesus made
milk.
When Jesus made the ups and downs, he loved the taste of Takeshi Sato yogurt. But no, they didn't do that. Right.
No loaves, fishes, and yogurt. Like, I mean, what's gonna go great with those fishes and loaves and that wine? I mean, good God.
We got a few angry messages from a few folks saying that this is, blasphemy or whatever.
Right.
I was like, don't take
you
it out on me.
weren't doing it.
I wasn't doing it.
You haven't set up a little hotel room with like this is where Jesus died. It's not your fault.
Don't shoot the messenger here. Like I'm just telling people about the situation. And people are angry at me. It's like, well,
don't shoot the messenger. They executed the messenger.
They did. Well, not in Aomori, not in the Jesus Japan version, because he actually came to Aomori. So what is the
kind of exit route of Jesus in the story if he's found in a? So he didn't roll away the stone. All of that, all of the Bible stuff, not true. No. He just went to Japan,
nonsense,
kicked back, enjoyed some yoguritos, and then died of yogurt.
Apparently, Jesus came to Japan to discover and study Buddhism. And I don't even know if Buddhism was practiced in Japan at that point in time, but that's a story for another day. And then he was like, "This is quite good, isn't it?" And then it said Jesus returned.
That is a big vault fast, isn't it? It's better than what I've been going on about for ages, for crying out loud.
And then he goes back to Jerusalem, and he has the ups and downs of travel again. And he goes home.
The ups and downs of travel.
And then, everybody hates him because he's preaching. But then he gets, committed to the cross or punished or whatever. Pontius Pilate.
Mm.
And but then his brother Iskiri, that no one's ever talked about ever, turns up and he's like, I'm going to do you a solid, mate. I'm going to take one for the team. I'll go on the cross. You go back to Aomori. And Jesus presumably is like, oh, yeah, all right then. And that's the story. And Jesus comes...
Because that is the message of Christianity. That is the message of Christianity. Like, giving your life so that someone else may flourish. It's scary Christ. It's scary Christ.
It's scary. It's scary.
It's scary.
But I think he was grateful. I think he was grateful for it. And then he comes back to Aomori, to the town of Shingo, where this tomb is, and he lives out the rest of his days there. And he died at the ripe old age of 106. And that is the story, the real story of Christ, as told by the people of Shingo in Aomori. And it's definitely true.
Yeah, I wasn't allowed any of the onsens though because of his tats.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah,
but what I like, there's just so many holes in the story. What I can't work out is where did this actually come from? At what point does somebody go, I know what we're going to do. Jesus died here, and that's where things get a bit patchy. There's a few different stories. Like on the serious side, apparently there were some missionaries that were going around North Japan. I think in the 19th century. After Japan opened up and they were preaching around. And that it's their bodies that are actually buried there in this tomb.
Right.
Even though I don't think it's so much a tomb as just a pile of dirt with a wooden cross in it. It's open to interpretation. Much like the teachings of Christ. And but I don't know.
Version.
It's all very bizarre. But I kind of like it. And it was not a video. But because Connor and I can just make fun of this ridiculous town. And some people are angry on the other fence saying, you shouldn't make fun of the culture of this town, Chris. You shouldn't make fun.
Right.
And if I thought they truly believed this, I'd be like, okay, we won't mock this. But then you discover that not only is the tomb of Christ there, but there's a place just down the road where Adam and Eve are buried. About a kilometre down the road.
Yes! Why are they killing all of these historical characters?
So...
Guess what flavour yoghurt they were eating? Hey, come on.
Honestly. So I think the town just got a bit greedy, and they were like, how can we attract tourists and put no effort in?
Winnie the Pooh, dead on our land.
Winnie the Pooh and Eeyore died in a car crash here in the town
Eeyore's
of Shingo.
Loving it.
Come on, look at
Eeyore just was willing death upon himself right throughout his life, and he's loving the fact that he's buried in wherever it is.
Oh my god. Well, dear. So obviously we're revisiting some places like that, but it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun, and just North Japan, man, such an amazing place, and love it to bits. And I kind of needed it. I think like a bit of an antidote to living in Tokyo. Right, I've always been like the 6-7 months I've been here, I've been like, man, it'd be really cool to go back to Tohoku, discover places and cover them, and places I haven't filmed in 6, 7, 8 years now. So it's been good to go back, and really cool trip. And, I'll talk a bit more about the trip in the next podcast. Let's dive in to, for the first time in a while, your stories, guys. We've got a story from Greg, who begins, Dear Chris and Pete, I'm writing this on the Shinkansen from Sendai to Tokyo, at the tail end of my 3rd trip to Japan. I'm no certified Japan enthusiast, but I like to think I can get around okay here. Things surprise me a little less than they used to now, and I feel more comfortable with the little quirks of Japan and the way things are done that were much more difficult the first time I visited. One thing I was totally unprepared for, though, when I was recently staying in Sapporo, is this. I made my way from the airport to my subway stop without having to step outside, as you do. And when I finally went above ground, what can only be described as a plague of insects were awaiting me. Oh my God. This is another Bible story here. The plague of insects.
Locusts.
Within seconds, I was covered in them, and I looked around to see many others all flapping and waving. Is that the insect or the person? Women were shaking their hair, and men were swinging their suit jackets to try to rid themselves of the tiny black flies. They were harmless, but it's no exaggeration to say that they formed visible clouds in the air, and people were having to walk with their umbrellas facing forwards to protect themselves. What is this? This just sounds like hell on earth. Every few seconds, you would have to sweep off the ones that had landed on you, and I brusquely made my way onto the safety of my hotel to wonder what the hell was going on. I mentioned this in a bar later on that evening, to which the response was, Yukimushi. It turns out that before the first snowfall of winter, Hokkaido is totally peppered with these flies. They don't last for long, and some places were worse than others, but it was an interesting phenomenon that will definitely be a lasting memory for all the wrong reasons. Have you ever experienced the plague of the Yukimushi? Cheers, guys. Greg, who sounds like a story from Moses and the tales of the curses of Egypt. I mean, I've actually never heard of this. I've never been to Sapporo just before Christmas, so I've never heard of this. I think just got unlucky. Very unlucky.
I'm looking at pictures of the snow bugs, the Yukimushi.
That's crazy.
I mean, by themselves, they look quite adorable because it looks like they're carrying a tiny bit of cotton. I imagine if there's like millions of them, it's absolutely gross.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's so cool. I've never heard of these before. Like looking them up on Wikipedia, I don't think there's even an article in English. It's all in Japanese. So it must be like a Hokkaido phenomenon. Firefly.
It basically sort of, as you said, it signifies some beautiful powder snow on the way. So I imagine snowboarders. If I was a snowboarder, I'd get one tattooed on my neck. Radical.
I mean, you could probably find some cool symbolism in there. They have no mouth, so
yes, okay, but they must scream.
Have no mouth.
Do you have? No
and they live about 1 week. They only live a week.
Oh, it's Ben. You know that song? Doesn't matter.
God. There you go, though. Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's cool. It's nice to hear a story where we learn something new.
I learned nothing.
The first time.
Chris, I am an empty vessel that will not be filled. Everything I hear on this podcast just slides right off me, like snow off a shovel.
Well, speaking of empty vessel, that ties in nicely to today's news story. A very bleak one indeed. And a mystery in its own right. What's going on in Japan this week, Miss Dawson? Fill us in on the news.
I hope you're hungry, Chris, because you've got nearly 1,000 tons of sardines and mackerel to eat, for crying out loud. Floating on the surface of the sea off the fishing port of Hakodate in Hokkaido, where we have got... No, I don't think we did go to Hakodate, did we? I can't remember. Anyway, a fisherman who's worked in the area for 25 years told the celebrated Mainichi Shimbun, I've never seen anything like this before. 1,200 tons of sardines and mackerel were found floating on the surface of the sea, and the people of Hakodate are, I think it's fair to say, flipping out. The officials in Hakodate are saying don't eat the fish, even though there's a lot of delicious fish sort of washing up. We don't know for sure under what circumstances these fish were washed up. I don't recommend eating them. Different theories have been suggested. They may have migrated, experts are saying, and become stranded after being chased to the point of exhaustion by a bigger fish. A mass mortality event can occur when there are sudden drops in the water temperature, causing the fish to go into shock. And obviously, the big story this year has obviously been the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant water release. They obviously released a lot of water into the waters far away from the ports there, and the Japanese government are at pains to suggest that the Daily Mail's report that might be part of it. Very much not basically disagreeing with what the Daily Mail are trying to say. But it's kind of difficult because obviously that like the reputation of Japanese fish is quite low at the moment. China obviously banned imports of the fish and stuff like that, just simply because it was very politically motivated decision. I think we spoke about that in previous shows. But I mean, it's a weird situation, and I think the amount of kind of like irradiated water going into the bays there wouldn't be enough to do this sort of damage anyway.
It's not that. I'm not a nuclear expert. Write that down, put it on the wall. But I don't think this has anything to do with it. That's just more of a PR angle that's kind of bad timing, unfortunate timing. Where this happened, Hakodate is quite far away from Fukushima. I must admit, all these stories, it is very much like the plagues of Egypt. First, you've got the Yukimushi walking out the station, poor old Greg walking out and getting swarmed. And then you've got like 1,200 tons of sardines. When you said that, I pictured like 1,200 fish in a pile. And then I realised, wait a minute, tons. And I looked at the photo, and it is quite spectacular in a very depressing way. Like, there's just so many dead sardines on this beach. Like, you can't see the sand through the layer of sardines. It's pretty bad. Jesus. Gross. I wonder what happened. Yeah, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know.
Well, look, get yourself down there. Get yourself some delicious free fish. That's all I'm saying. Delicious.
Well, I've got a Geiger counter, so I can go down there and have a look. Yeah, that was one of the cool things about Journey Across Japan, going back to Fukushima, actually. Bit of a segue, but that was cool. It was really moving to go back there and see what's going on. And it's really interesting, like, how once they treat an area, the levels of radiation drop just to normal background levels. But the areas where they haven't been treated at all, you can watch the Geiger counter rocket up quite fast, Really,
how do they treat it? They just sort of like pour kind of soil. I don't know how you treat something like that.
Well, they just remove like I think it's like a foot or two of topsoil, and then they stick it in bags and rebury it basically.
Yeah.
And wash down all the buildings and everything. And there's bits that haven't been treated, right? Like there's a route through the forests. The forests haven't been treated because you can't just chop down like thousands of hectares of forest.
You can't wash a tree. I've tried.
You can't wash a tree.
You just
wouldn't
can't
want to wash a tree. You can't wash a tree. You can't. You simply can't. But like, yeah, there's areas you can't get out of the car, and you can watch on the Geiger counter as it sort of goes up quite quickly. But really, I think you would really appreciate going to the exclusion zone, having a look around, to be honest. And I'm amazed how close you can get to the Daiichi nuclear reactor. Actually, like the opening shot of the little documentary we shot in a day and released in 2, which is probably the main achievement of Journey Across Japan so far, is there's an opening shot where I'm talking and then the drone pans up and you can see how close we are to it. Like, it's bonkers how close you can get to the damn thing. But yeah, again, fish, I don't know, maybe change in temperature, maybe some sort of chemical spillage somewhere in Hakodate, I don't know. But I'm pretty certain it's not the water that's been released into the sea quite far away, in a different sea as well, might I add, into the Pacific. Whereas this is the Tsugaru Strait and the Sea of Japan side. So, yeah, I don't know. We should find out. If we find out, we shall let you know, guys. We'll keep you posted on the mystery of the 1,200 tons of sardines. So we're back in just a moment, guys, with your stories, comments and questions in the fax machine.
Wow.
And we're back with the fax machine. What do we got this week from our listeners? Mr. Dawson, fill us in.
Hey, Kendrick from Singapore here. Travelling to Japan soon. I'll be visiting Tokyo, Nagata, Nagano, Kanazawa and Kyoto. 2 questions for you. I am unsure how to get started using a drone in Japan and what to look out for. Do you have any advice as a drone owner or a droner? So to speak. Also, since I've read this year will be an El Nino year, I wonder how much the amount of snowfall will be like in these areas. Thank you and love the content you guys make. Stay safe and take care. Chris, have you ever encountered any issues, problems, whatnottery as a dronist?
I mean, I think you've got to sign up online now when you have a drone. Like I did it. It didn't take too long. There is like a 2 or 3 week approval process, so bear that in mind if you're going to fly a drone. You've got to like sign up online. To be fair, the English side of things, the English is pretty good. It's not like a normal Japanese website, which is something somebody conjured up in the 90s. Like it's actually a good website portal, and the snowfall was actually less. Like, it was kind of a bit awkward in Journey Across Japan. Every episode, I'm like, "Oh, it's going to snow today," and it didn't. And it was just like that for the entire series. Until like the second to last day, then it was the heavens opened. It was awful. I
would say that you've been facing like a lot of challenges with flying any sort of equipment in the sort of stuff that you've been having to deal with. I would say it
is true, but we got some really nice drone shots. It's been really nice, and and I nearly destroyed my drone flying it through the snow. But that is part of the game, isn't it?
Did you hit a drift?
Did I hit a drift?
Did you hit a drift, Chris?
No, I did not. I did not.
All right.
But what I did hit is this message from Leanne, who says, Hello, Compendious Chris and Paragoric. What the heck is Paragoric, Pete?
Not a clue. Give it a Google. I'll find out for you.
My husband and I have enjoyed watching your content and listening to the podcast for years. I was also lucky enough to meet you in Charlotte at the recent Nottingham book signing. Well, hey, thanks for coming, Leanne. My questions are about the Japanese Tosa Inu, a banned breed of dog that is illegal to own or import in many countries, including the UK, Australia, Norway, and Denmark. I'll probably never get to see one of these dogs in person, so I wanted to ask, have you ever seen one? Are they common? Are they subject to any restrictions? What do Japanese people think of the breed? Is there a dog fighting subculture in Japan? Thank you very much. Keep up the great work. Leanne from Yorkshire. Do you know what a Tosa Inu is? You like your dogs.
I don't know. Are they like absolutely massive ones? Are they like? Oh yes, it's one of the Bully XL kind. It's not a Bully XL, but it's one of the few breeds that's been successfully banned in the UK. They're absolute monsters.
Yeah, it looks so. The Tosa in the 1800s.
They look quite friendly, but like they do look quite friendly.
It looks friendly, but it looks like if you look at it the wrong way, it will rip your face off, you know.
Yeah.
It was in the 1800s, the Tosa was bred with various other breeds, such as the Bulldog and Mastiff, to produce a dog that was heavy, agile, and powerful. And then it was banned in the UK. So powerful was the dog. It does look quite scary. I haven't actually seen one, though, off the top of my head.
Well, I think they're mainly. I believe that cockfighting is still legal in Japan. Sorry, I think it's cockfighting. Is Japanese dog. Is dogfighting still legal in Japan? Have we spoke about this before? Have I gone absolutely insane? I'm fairly certain.
Yes, mental. It might be.
Yes, dogfighting is still. Yeah, and they dress them up in like mad kind of costumes. Like if they win a match, they get covered in like kind of ceremonial robes and stuff, like they've won a sumo match or something. It's absolutely insane. I think it's not quite as violent as you imagine. I think if the dog gets tired or draws blood, I think the whole thing stops. But it's insanity to any normal person to imagine that, and certainly
that's sad.
As a dog lover as myself. Although I think Lola, a border terrier, will probably give him a run for their money because she's very angry sometimes.
I was in Akita, just a few days ago, and I got to shoot a little bit with the Akita dogs. I was interesting. The town of Odate is where they come from in like North Akita, and there's a dog museum where you can go in and look at the dogs and all their favourite owners. And when I was there like 2 or 3 years ago, there was a big picture of Vladimir Putin with his Akita dog that had been gifted by the people, I think the governor of Akita, as a thank you to Putin and Russia for chipping in and helping after the Tohoku earthquake. Right. And that's gone now. I was like trying to find it, and it's gone. They removed it. So what's he done? What's happened? What could possibly have happened for this to take place? But
strange.
You can see the Akita dogs though, and I was very happy to witness a dog ripping up a Curious George toy from a crane game machine. The very same Curious George I couldn't catch for like 2 hours on a Sea Dog VA video I did like a year or two ago. I wasted so much time and resources trying to catch Curious George, and seeing this lovely Akita dog rip it to shreds in front of me was immensely cathartic. No doubt about that. I've got one last question from Heather Walker, who says, hello Crispy Chris and Peppery Pete, due to allergies, dietary requirements and general fussiness, would it be weird or possible to just order plain rice at restaurants across Japan? Would they find it rude or just average gaijin behaviour? All the best, Heather Walker. You could just order all the rice you want, Heather. There are no rules. And often,
get it down, yeah.
Well, yeah, and often all you can eat rice as well. So you can go crazy. Yeah. Eat all the rice your heart desires. Don't eat too much. It really does. Your indigestion.
Bad for your heart.
doesn't do me much good. Keep the stories, questions, comment coming in to abroadjapanpodcast@gmail.com. I'll return in a few days' time from this same place, probably.
From this same place, probably.
The hellscape. I look like I'm in a hostage video. Bunker. There's no two ways about it. I hope most people are listening and not witnessing this. That would make me feel a lot more comfortable. But for now, guys, we'll see you right back here to do it over again on the Abroad Japan podcast. Have a great few days. See you soon.
Bye-bye.